What's up, Team Diadem? We're back with a special edition of Courtside Sessions with Sarah Koudouzian from,
Rich Sport.
and we're really excited to learn about Rich Sport, about your story, about everything that's been happening recently. And for the viewers at home, they need to understand that this is actually the second recording of this podcast because we had some file corruption issues.
I
So
wasn't going to bring it up.
I like to give people a behind the scenes look,
Okay.
and I'm telling them that because this time we're going to be more efficient and we know the story, so we can really dive in and get to the nitty gritty here.
Perfect.
But first, let's start with what is Rich Sport and what do you guys do?
Rich Sport is a lifestyle. We are a tennis racket accessories company, and we created bright, fun, intentional, positive accessories that go on your racket to mix and match your mood and your outfit and your mani. And it has really done well in not only in the racket accessories world, but in the merch world. We are the ones behind the busy watching women's tennis tee that Kevin's wearing. That has definitely paved the way that we didn't even expect the way that it paved the way for us. But that's how we got on the map these last 7 months that we've been in business.
And I tell you what, I am always have always been a big women's tennis fan, and it's especially important for me now because we at Diadem Sports recently signed Alina Svitolina, and she's been using this orange Axis racket that matches the shirt. So every time I pull up one of her matches, I got the shirt on and cheer her on, and it's been really exciting for us on the women's tennis side recently too. So a lot of synergies here, and excited to hear a little bit about your recent march. At Indian Wells in Miami. Tell us about what that experience has been like for you guys.
It's definitely been a whirlwind. We are a startup and we are bestie founded and funded. We're bicoastal besties. Nicole grew up as a recreational player and coaching high school teams, and then I grew up as a competitive player. Tennis was my entire life until it wasn't, and I left the sport for 10 plus years and then came back into it, and taking off completely with Rich Sport the way that it has been absolutely insane. I mean, it all kind of happened at once. I mean, January here with the fires was absolute nightmare,
Hmm.
and it was the longest year ever just in January. And then all of a sudden, fast forward to February, we get a DM from Danielle Collins, who was on my vision board last year, and I was like, how am I going to be able to find Danielle Collins? Like, I don't know how to, I don't know. I don't have any mutuals with her. Like, how can I make this happen? And it was while she was at the Australian Open, and I've been following her career. I love how she plays. She's aggressive. She wears her heart on the sleeve. I love her interviews. I love what she stands for. And so when I got that DM the next morning, I was like, I thought it was a joke. I thought someone had hacked her profile or something. And she said, "Hey, I've been wanting to do merch. I've been seeing your company on my Explore feed.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, she's like, can we set up a call and talk?" And I said, absolutely. We are going to do this. And I remember screenshotting to Nicole, and I'm like, Nicole knows, like, I am the one that is explosive with emotions. I am
Hmm.
the one with all sorts of, like, if there is a story to tell, I'm going to tell it because it's going to come with so many different emotions tied to it. And so whenever I send Nicole in our WhatsApp chat, Nicole with all caps, she knows I'm
Uh-huh.
going to give her something good. Like, either I'm giving her good tea or I'm going to give her something that, like, something major that just happened. And I go, "Nicole." And she was like, "What is going on?" We got on that call. Everything just flowed so naturally. Super easy to work with. She was very involved with the creatives, what she wanted, what she didn't want, the messaging behind it. And she gave us a very small timeline, a very short timeline, excuse me. And I was like, she was like, "I want it ready for the Indian Wells." And I was like, "What?" as you know, when you have to like produce and design and produce, like that is a long process, especially
Definitely.
just two people running everything from the ground up.
And
And
when was this in reference to Indian Wells? Like 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before,
3 weeks before
three
Indian Wells.
weeks? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So you had to really dive in
We didn't
and
sleep.
get
Yeah,
it
we
going.
didn't sleep. And then the creatives, everything is between Nicole and I. So when it came about, I was like, here's what we have. And she picked the one that she wanted, which caused some talk at Indian Wells. It said play tennis, cash checks, and repeat. And bright orange with a camo. She had been wanting a trucker hat, and at one point during the match, um, her first match, it was all orange in her box. So it was crazy. You just saw it everywhere, and everyone was like tweeting and like DMing us and sending it, and it was so crazy to see. But she's been so fun to work with, and took it to Miami as well. We got on the tennis channel. They asked to talk about the merch drop.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, we were on it with Tracy Austin, sitting right next to us and asking us about Rich Sport and all that fun stuff. And
And
it's
for
just
people
been.
that are listening that are interested in business, did that correlate to sales on your end?
Oh yeah, of course, because it was like we sold out of the merch. The merch was sold out, and then on top of that, it just people who weren't familiar with Rich Sport got familiar with Rich Sport, so that also helped tremendously. And the content that was created behind it, and what just it's about getting women to feel more comfortable about talking about money. Because
Yeah, that's so awesome, and I think such a great message and a great caveat to deliver that message to especially the tennis world too.
of course, especially because again, I am a female, and we were all talking about it. We're like, how uncomfortable we get asking for more money or asking for money for things that you're providing a service or providing um, your talent for. And but if a male were to ask, it's never questioned, it's never looked down upon. So we were like, you know what, let's just talk about this, get people talking. Yes, of course, it had a little bit to do with her speech at the Australian Open. I loved it. We both loved it. I mean, people who get it, and
Hmm.
it's okay. You don't have to. But for us, it was a bigger message behind it, because if it was a male that made those comments, they wouldn't have gotten ripped the same way she did, and she handled it well in our opinion. And it was like, this is a great talking point, and part of proceeds go to Women's Equity Fund to really put the message out there of saying, you know what, we want more women to feel comfortable asking for money and asking for more.
That's so awesome that you guys were able to pair that up with a cause and do and
Yeah.
give back, and I think that's really special.
Thank you. Our company in general is that way. We give back every single month. We donate to nonprofits making tennis more accessible for all. I go and talk to the kids. I hit with the kids, and especially in such a tough sport like tennis, the chances of going pro are very, very slim. And when you've dedicated your entire life for that one cause, and then you don't get to go pro, I mean, a lot of things happen afterwards. So to be able to go and talk to the kids and say, hey, my goal was always to be pro. That's all I knew. That's all I thought I was good at. I didn't get to go pro, but now some of the best pros are utilizing our stuff. So there's always a silver lining if you have that outlet for it.
100%. And before we dive into learning a little bit about your story in tennis, that I think is so intriguing and has a lot of value for especially young women and parents that can kind of learn some things from your story, I want to hear a little bit about some of the maybe unique tactics that you guys used at Miami and Indian Wells to kind of spread the word about Rich Sport.
So we always have stickers. We will go and plant stickers in where we see some of the key places that people are going, and we've gotten DMs like, "Do you know you can get arrested for that?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you get caught." As far as what we did for Indian Wells, we put up a story to say that we're going to be at Indian Wells. If you guys want merch and rich sport stuff, DM us. And we were meeting them in front of Nobu at Indian Wells and bringing in the stuff and smuggling it in and handing over the purchases and then doing it outside of the venue from our trunk. And Nicole is more cautious with things like that, and I
Hmm.
always have had the mentality of ask for forgiveness, not for permission. And I was like, Nicole, and I would lead the way, and Nicole would be like, okay. And she's a great wing woman, great accomplished when it comes to that because she can play it cool. She can ride the story that I'm making up for whoever I'm trying to get past to make up the
Hmm.
head, and we're very believable. And we're a startup. We're going to be as scrappy and grassroots as needed. And all of our mentors that we speak to, they always say like that first year, really hone in on it because you're never going to get that back. You're never going to have those memories again. You're never going to have those experiences again. So take it all in. And we've been documenting it and taking it all in, so it's been great.
Yeah, that gets me so fired up that you guys really will do whatever it takes. And
Almost. Let's not go there. Almost.
that's a good point. We'll stop
Yeah.
right there.
We'll
But
stop it there.
thinking outside of the box and and taking risks and doing those sort of things, I think it's probably been the difference maker to get you to where you are today and having so much success.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a business background, but I have a tennis background, and those are all the key factors that I brought into launching a brand with my best friend. Is that I don't have an MBA. I did not go to business school. My degree's in kinesiology, far from what this is. However, when people say like, how are you doing what you're doing? It's because when you're down 6-0 on the court and then you're down the next set and you're trying to figure out what the heck are you going to do to win this match, you figure it out. You do what it takes and you give it your all. And that is the type of player that I've always been. I was an all or nothing. There was no mid. Either I was in or she's gone from this match. There was no in between. It's an all or nothing type of mindset, and I attribute all of those things to helping me with taking the risks with Rich Sport, because especially when you're down a set and you're losing, you take every single risk. I'm
Hmm.
not afraid to be cringe. I'm not afraid of any of those things. I don't care. I will do what it takes to win, almost what it takes to win, but that's kind of what it comes down to. I think being a tennis player can be such an advantage. I mean, it's such a different sport than any of the team sports in particular.
Definitely, you have to find a way, and I think that it'll be really cool to learn a little bit about your journey, and then figure out some of those lessons that you're able to apply now, like you were just talking about. So let's start there with how did you get into tennis in the first place?
My dad always wanted his daughter to play tennis. He grew up as a soccer player in Lebanon, and I was born there as well. And he said if he has a daughter, she's going to play tennis. He fell in love with the sport, and he just felt like the daughter should play tennis. And then I got into it at 5 years old. I was a top ranked player in SoCal and the US, and at 16 got injured, lost all of my scholarships, all of my offers. I had nothing. I went through anxiety, depression, gained like 30 plus pounds because I was eating still like an athlete, but I wasn't getting any better. I was doing the physical therapy and nothing was helping. And I had to go get a job because my dad was like, okay, well, you lost all your scholarships, so now you got to figure out how you're going to pay for college.
Hmm.
And I had to go and get a job and figure out how I was going to pay for college and figure out college in general. I was homeschooled, so I didn't know all of the resources that were out there to help people get into college. I just was figuring it out from a young age. Played About a year and a half of uh, D1 tennis, and I hated my experience, did not like what was going on with the team, and I threw away my racket completely because I was done. I did some coaching in between because obviously college players, that's what you're going to do to make
Yep.
money. So I did coaching. I was way too emotionally involved. I am the worst person to watch tennis with. Even watching Danielle, I'm like, I'm
Hmm.
feeling every single point because I can't disconnect. I don't think I'm a great coach for that reason. But I'm able to contain myself because obviously I don't want the player to stress out. But afterwards, I'm definitely having a tequila somewhere to calm down of
Hmm.
what I just endured.
What's your tequila of choice, if you don't mind me asking?
Honestly, anything that's not going to burn, but I will have a tequila neat.
Okay,
Anything
I
that
like it.
I will stick to that as my answer.
Hmm.
Whatever doesn't burn and is great neat, I will have.
Perfect.
And yeah, I threw away my racket for 10 plus years because I was really disappointed by my experience in college. And I thought this is the only way that I'm going to play. And then I tried doing some open tournaments. Obviously, it didn't go so well. And I was very discouraged. And the pain of my wrist really taking a toll on me. I'm like, is this what it's supposed to feel like all the time? And that's kind of the whole synopsis of how tennis and everything for me
Yeah,
kind of.
definitely. Let's dive into a couple of those things there. I think in junior tennis especially, there's an important relationship when you're coming up with your parents and your coaches, and I think that your experience could shed some good light for parents that are in those situations and players that are in those situations right now. So, can you talk a little bit about what that dynamic was like for you?
If you don't have complete disassociation from parent and coach, don't do it.
I think that's great advice.
Don't do it because you will tarnish the relationship with your kid, and it does a number. Especially, it's. I think it's very rare that people can not take it off of the court. Um, and I would definitely say that if you can afford a coach, do so. And if you can't, really work on how you're going to disassociate parent and coach because the two don't work together unless you've gone to so much therapy that you know how to handle that. But based on all of my peers that I grew up with and what their relationships were like with their parent as a coach, it's definitely suffered in some sort of sense, and that would be my advice.
No, I appreciate you opening up about that. And I think the another thing when you were a junior too, dealing with that injury when you were what 16.
Yes.
How talk us through what occurred there and kind of what that did to your mental health and that sort of thing too, and how you were able to over time get back into the game after dealing with something like that. Because I think that injuries are so common in tennis, and people find themselves in that situation all the time.
I think what a lot of people growing up as tennis players in particular, and I will say tennis players and gymnasts, I feel, are very similar with the training styles. You play through pain, you push through hours of training, a lot of individual work. It's, again, solo sport as well. And it's a tough sport. And it was frowned upon if you took the day off, or if you were in pain, you better play through it because that's how you're going to get tough. And the only way I identified myself as a person was as a tennis player. I didn't know myself as anything or anyone else. And so when I lost the sport completely, I was devastated because I'm like, that's the only thing I'm good at. And that's all that I aspired to be and aspired to do. And when I lost it, I think I lost myself completely because I felt there was nothing left. And I felt it was too late. And I was too old at 16 years old to change my mind and to do something else or pursue or find another, I guess, another outlet. And
Mm.
so I definitely did not seek for any sort of therapy or help in that sense. I was trying to figure it out all on my own. It wasn't until I got to college that I discovered therapy and figured, like, I really think I need some help with what has happened, especially because the resentment I had towards a sport and walking onto the team that I walked onto when I was at a top 10 player to now walking on.
Mm-hmm. Talk
It
t-
was,
talk a little bit about the what the recruiting process was like for you, and then losing those opportunities.
yeah,
Obviously, definitely such a difficult thing to deal with. Talk about where
absolutely.
you were at, and then what happened to give some insight into what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, to be pursued since you were 12 years old, because that's when they start pursuing you. And then having everybody go crickets once they saw that I was injured, it was really devastating because I was like, oh, there is no in between. It's this, either you have it or you don't. There isn't, hey, we're gonna see if you're gonna get better, or let's see what's gonna happen. No, it was, I was ghosted, completely ghosted. So it was very devastating for that. And then to walk on um, to the team and figuring out that dynamic, and then the temper I had on the court. I was a racket breaker because I didn't realize, and that's not the type of player I was before. I was very reserved because
Mm-hmm.
I had to be, and I was trained to be like no emotions. I was an emotionless player to now doing this completely on my own, becoming the most emotional player of breaking rackets, screaming. You could hear me from like Lord knows where. And I was like, where is this coming from? And that's when I had to really do some self work to understand where it was coming from. I'm all about showing emotions. That's not what I'm getting at. It's that it was every point. It was
Mm-hmm. Whether you
uncontrollable.
were up or down, right?
Yes.
I think that that's a really important piece, and I'd like to touch on it a little bit more later with some of the things that you've learned over the years to manage your emotions. But first, obviously, you didn't have a great experience in college. Is there anything that you would advise players to look for in the recruiting process to make sure they don't put themselves in a similar situation?
What I would do instead is, because everybody advertises it in a, this is a Disneyland type of place. What I would advise is, if you get onto the team and you see that it's not what you expected, it's not, and I'm not saying that everything's supposed to be happy and fun and whatnot. Like, no, that's not realistic either. But if there are things that have been bothering you on the team and things that don't feel right and don't resonate with you can leave. If you get onto a team and you realize you just genuinely do not like the college experience, you can go play open tournaments. You can join a league outside. There's so many different things that you could do to continue to play. I had just gotten to a point where I was just done with the sport completely. And had I not been advocating for myself, I probably would have never even started Rich Sport. I needed to go away for 10 plus years to really come back to the root of the game. I needed to come back as to, why do we even play sports? Because we love it. Because I don't think anybody's going to torture themselves, losing breath, the soreness, the mental agony that you deal with when you play matches, unless you truly love it, right? So if I didn't leave for 10 plus years, I would have not had that experience. So if you don't like it, leave.
So, something that I'm curious about is, in that 10-year span that you took away from the game, what did you learn, and what did you pick up in terms of dealing with stress, mental health, and fitness and nutrition that kind of made the transition back to tennis easier for you?
So I got my degree in kinesiology. I wanted to understand what happened to me and how can I help other athletes not end up like me, and use my experience as an athlete to be able to help someone in their training and conditioning, because a lot of the times the people that take up that job, they've never been in the point of they've never been in the shoes of an athlete. So I feel like that's just a dynamic that could be so beneficial to not only have that education of the body and the mind, but to also have that experience as an athlete. I'm not saying to play at like an elite level, but put yourself in the position of an athlete, and I feel like you can relate and connect more. And so I worked with various sports teams at D1 schools and did the strength and conditioning uh, programs with them. I then started my own fitness company. From there, I really wanted to get into nutrition
Hmm.
because I knew eating Jack in the Box and In and Out, even though I was burning the calories, that can't be good for you. Sorry.
No, all good. Can
She's very vocal.
you remind me what type of dog?
I'm sorry.
Can you remind me what type of dog?
They called her a Husky Shepherd mix.
That's right.
She's a rescue, so she looks like a coyote slash fox, and I always get stopped for people to ask me if she's a coyote or a fox. So she's definitely in prey mode right now because that's what she's staring at.
No, I love that.
But yeah, so I also wanted to understand the mental aspect of things because growing up as a competitive player, we didn't really discuss the mental aspect. It was just the physical. You're doing
Yeah,
the
definitely.
physical,
And I
and
think more recently too, the mental part of just in general humanity has opened up a little bit more about that. But I think
yeah,
especially in sport and in tennis, because I think a lot of the top players have been more vocal about their experience dealing with mental health problems and the
yeah,
grind of tennis as a solo sport. I think lends itself to more opportunities to fall into those downward spirals and pits. So it's really cool to hear that, and I want to hear a little bit more about what you do to deal with those things and what you coach and teach on mental health too.
yeah. I mean, for me, what's worked for me is breathwork therapy. I love Dr. Missy is who I go to in Agora Hills, and she has just been an angel for me, and I have been with her for a couple of years now, and I just the things that I've been taught by her, that she has taught me, the the ways that it's helped me pause and not be as reactive. Listen, I have my moments where I still get into reactive mode, like some of the
Hmm.
stuff you deal with in business. You're just you can't help but sometimes be reactive. But where I was, where I am, and the huge difference it's made for me to just go inward first, has been mind blowing. Just the things you can readjust with just breathing properly. It's the same for when you're on the tennis court. When you breathe properly, how less tense you are on the court, how much more energy you have, how much smoother you're playing just by breathing properly. I do the journaling thing.
Okay.
I do all the wellness girly stuff, but I don't do it in a manner where it's just very task like.
Yeah, and regimented and
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. Because I think
like
you can get burned out from that the same way you can get burned out from training for tennis. I think too. You know.
absolutely. And I before I was having that mindset, and I would tell Dr. Missy, I was like, I don't even feel like writing, and it has and in tennis it's like if you don't feel like practicing, you're gonna get onto the court and you're gonna practice. It doesn't matter. And I was getting to the point of that, and she was just teaching me the balance behind it, keywords to say to calm myself down, which is what we incorporated for our racket accessories on our dampeners and our grip bands. Chill, focus, and breathe. Optimal things that I needed to, say to myself on the court, or still say to myself. On our grip bands, it says inhale, exhale. Again, going back to the breathing. As simple as things like that. When you're in the moment, you forget those things. And to stay here and now, that's a huge one for me. And to have fun, because the best I've played or performed in any circumstance is when I'm having fun with it. And when you hear when you hear the speeches for some of the best players of when they won that Grand Slam, they're talking about, I just had fun.
Hmm.
And so we forget those things when you're in that moment because you go into this whole fight mode, and this whole fight mode takes you to a part where you forget the basics, and it's just little reminders. The basics are what work.
100%. And I think that that's one of the more interesting and cool factors in the gear that Rich Sport makes is that it comes with some motivation and mindfulness. It's not just a brand on a grip or anything like that. It's designed to help the players
Yeah.
beyond performance, right?
Of course. I mean, it was very important to us to create every single every single part of our packaging. Our products are meant to be an experience and a positive, happy experience, and they were created by tennis players for tennis players. All the things we wish we had growing up, and this was definitely fun for us. It's been fun.
100%. And I would say for one of my last questions here is if I opened the floor to you and you had to kind of drop any pieces of wisdom you had for especially junior tennis players and parents and coaches. You got anything else that we haven't covered yet?
Oh my god. I mean, I could go on for hours about the days, years. I would definitely say tennis is not who you are, it's what you do. And the reason I say that is because I myself identified myself as just that. I'm a tennis player. And so when it was gone and it was something out of my control, I thought I was left with nothing. I felt like I lost myself. So if I can give that advice to someone else, to not associate yourself as I'm a tennis player, but I play tennis. It's what I do. Then I think you will save yourself so much more therapy if anything happens that you can't because you can't play that sport. So
I think,
and I
yeah,
think the other thing I would say is it's okay to take time off. It does not mean everything has gone to waste. And I think when you take that time off, you would be surprised how much fresher you come back because how I play now, as opposed to where I was in my junior top competitive days, I feel like I would kick my own ass from like,
hmm
I'm allowed to say ass?
yeah, for sure,
Okay.
100%.
I would kick my own ass back then because my where my mental is right now doesn't compare to where I was in my junior days because I am at a no cringe level. Like there is no cringe for me because I feel like a lot of people feel afraid to be cringe. And you can be afraid to be cringe if you care about what other people thinking of you.
Yeah, and I think that does that stem from a certain level of confidence that you have in yourself and belief in yourself that it doesn't matter what people think of you. Is
Yes.
that kind of the similar line?
Yes, and this kind of confidence didn't come without work. This came with work. It came with lots of work, lots of crying, lots of putting myself in vulnerable situations to really understand why do I care? Why are you upset you missed that ball, pancaked it into the net because Bob on the sideline is going to think you suck as a tennis player? That's where it was coming from.
Yeah, and
And
I think that that's a huge point. That if you look at all the greats in all sports, like Kobe Bryant and Nadal, for example, they would tell you that their confidence came because they know that their preparation and the
yes,
work that they put in is it laid the foundation that gave them the ability to, if they're down a couple sets, down 20 points, that they can dig in within themselves and they're never out, and that they can rise up to the occasion because they did the work, right?
yes, it's you have to do the work. You have to do the basics. When people ask like, "Oh, what do you do?" The basics. What's the gym routine? The basics. The basics are what it is, but the thing is people are constantly trying to get that dopamine fix. So the
Hmm.
basics get boring. And when you can push through those boring portions, that's when you're going to reach that next level. That's when you're going to reach that confidence level that you really don't give a shit anymore, because you care more about your own goals and what you've set for yourself than what anyone is anticipating or expecting from you. And I think when you get to that level, that is the most freeing experience, because you're not a prisoner in your own mind, because it's way better to feel free and not care, as opposed to being a prisoner in your own mind because you're so worried and thinking about what everyone is thinking or what's going to happen. It hasn't happened, so why are you giving yourself that real estate in your head? That's why we snuck into Indian Wells the way we did, because
That's awesome.
we were
And
gonna figure out in some sort of way.
And that's a couple great points there is the consistency. You have to do it on a consistent basis, day in and day out, and you have to only worry about the controllables. I always say control what you can control, and
Yeah.
everything outside of that is something that you don't need to worry about. You know what I mean? You can't change it no one way or another. So I think that's really cool. And my last question, besides that mentality of finding a way. Is there anything else that from your tennis career has made a significant impact in your business career?
Um, well, doing the mundane stuff. If you think I want to wake up every single morning and get into the gym to do the lifting and the eating in a certain way, I don't. Not all the time. I mean, I experience delicious foods in Miami that I probably shouldn't have been consuming every hour throughout the day. But going back to your question, it would be, again, doing the boring stuff, doing the basics. That's a huge game changer. You can be the most talented person in the world, the smartest person in the world, but if you're not doing the things, it doesn't matter. It doesn't move. It doesn't do anything. Um, but for me, it's been doing the boring stuff. I've been, doing whatever it takes to push myself to do the mundane things, because that's what works. And if you go back to it, again, going back to Kobe, going back to Nadal, they all did the basics. Of course, they were ridiculously talented athletes, don't get me wrong, but you can be that talented and not see your full potential if you're
Mm-hmm.
not putting in that work. And the other thing I
100%.
would say is the game changer has been having fun, because when you're having fun, you're so loose and you're playing the best tennis ever. And when you're having fun, you're transmitting that into the products you're creating. We are literally out of our minds with some of the content we film, because we're just like, oh, this is what we feel like today. Let's do it. And it resonates with people because it's having fun and is doing something different. So I feel like tennis definitely needs some more fun.
I love that. And Sarah, I don't know if they still say this, but you are the epitome of girl boss energy. Is that still in?
I will take it. I've always wanted to be a girl boss, so I will take it. The only thing I listen to are entrepreneurial what is it, podcasts, and every time I hear a girl boss on there, I'm just so inspired. I'll DM them right away and see whoever I can get on my team as a mentor, and that's what I do. I literally am like, oh, I have never fangirled over anyone other than entrepreneurial girl bosses. I will tell you that. I've worked with celebrities, trained celebrities, been around it all, and none of that does anything for me other than a girl boss. So to be in that same category, that you just made my day, Kevin.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And
I'm
I'm so
excited.
serious. I really admire everything that you guys are doing at Rich Sport, and all the
Thank you.
success that you're having is very well deserved because of all the things you mentioned. You put in the work and stayed consistent, and you're having fun while you're doing it. So it's really cool from a guy that gets to sort of get a little bit more insight into what's going on to see that. And for
Just the two of us, by the
mhm.
way. We run everything from the ground up. My place has turned into our warehouse. I package each and every individual pack. People think like it comes, it comes like no, it's me. I make your packages. That is me. Every single one. Everything's designed in house. Nicole's an incredible designer. We talk about what goes on through our heads that we want, and then she starts designing it. And we didn't go with a branding agency. We got they they quoted us $60,000 for one company to do branding, and we were like, oh my god, like, and we were this close to like saying maybe we need to invest and do it, and then we were like, we're too poor. We're going to have to figure this out on our own. So everything you see from our website, photos, videos, that's just Nicole and I doing every part.
Wow, that's awesome. And
It's great.
my final question, I promise, is there any way we can get any insight into anything that's coming up for Rich Sport? What's next for you guys?
Stay tuned for June.
Okay.
June is a really important month for us. We got reached out by, can't say who, but we
Okay, that's
got reached
fair.
out of wanting to work with us, and we're very, very excited. That's what I will say. So
Okay,
we're
so we're
very
gonna have
excited.
to hold tight until June to see more.
Yes, but that means you got to have me again, because Lord knows I'm going to have so much more to talk about. Who
Yes,
knows
that
what else I've smuggled in at that point?
that'll be so exciting. And for anybody at home, before we wrap it up, where can they go check out Rich Sport? Socials, website, hit us with that info right now.
To make everyone's life easier and ourselves, richsport.inc all the way through. And whatever you've seen out there that is not richsport.inc, that is not us. We've unfortunately dealt with some situations, but that is not us. Just stick to richsport.inc all the way through. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and our website.
And are these awesome shirts still available right now?
They are. We actually are dropping new versions of that. We got a new colorway, so we've got orange on orange coming in. We have the crew neck sweaters. We dropped that exclusively for our subscribers, so they got first dibs on it. And then that'll be available for next week for
And
those.
that's really cool. So make sure you guys subscribe. And I really can't understate how high quality this shirt is. It's awesome. It fits great and it feels good. And it has an even better message. I know I'm definitely going to be watching more women's tennis, rocking my Rich Sports shirt, and cheering on all the women who are competing at the highest level and even at the lowest level at the juniors and in
Oh
college
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But I really want to thank you for taking a second stab at this, and because I know that your time is very valuable, so I really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin.
100%. So everybody at home, that's another wrap on a Courtside Sessions episode. As always, special thank you to our production team for making this happen. And stay tuned for more great stories in tennis like Sarah's. And hopefully you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, follow. You guys know the drill by now, but we'll sign off from here. Thank you.